Hey guys, Lord Naren White here. The Holy Ghost, the one true God. Back with you with the next video in my series reading. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Without further ado, returning to The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, as read by Lord Naren White. Too bad, he couldn't live to see his brothers. Poor soul. You going to Orleans, you say? Yes, but that ain't only a part of it. I'm going in a ship next Wednesday for Rio Janeiro, where my uncle lives. It's a pretty long journey, but it'll be lovely. Wish I was a-going. Is Mary Jane the oldest? How old is the others? Mary Jane's 19. Susan's 15. And Joanna's about 14. That's the one that gives herself to good works and has a hare lip. Poor things. To be left alone in the cold world so. Well, they could be worse off. Old Peter had friends, and they aren't going to let them come to no harm. There's Hobson, and Baptist, preacher, and Deacon Lot Hoey, and Ben Rucker, and Abner Shackelford, and Levi Bell, the lawyer, and Dr. Robinson, and their wives, and the widow Bartley, and well, there's a lot of them. But these are the ones that Peter was thickest with, and used to write about sometimes, when he wrote home. So Harvey'll know where to look for friends when he gets here. Well, the old man went on asking questions till he just fairly emptied that young fellow. Blamed if he didn't inquire about everybody and everything in that blessed town, and all about the Wilkses and about Peter's business, which was a tanner, and about George's, which was a carpenter, and about Harvey's, which was a dissentering minister, and so on and so on. Then he says, "What did you want to walk all the way up to the steamboat for?" "Because she's a big Orleans boat, and I was afeard she might not stop there. When they're deep, they won't stop for a hail. A Cincinnati boat will, but this is a St. Louis one." "Was Peter Wilkes well off?" "Oh, yes, pretty well off. He had houses and land, and it's reckoned. He left 3 or 4,000 in cash, hid up summers." "When did you say he died?" "I didn't say, but it was last night." "Funeral tomorrow, likely?" "Yes, about the middle of the day." "Well, it's all terrible sad, but we've all got to go, one time or another. So what we want to do is to be prepared. Then we're all right." "Yes, sir, it's the best way. Ma used to always say that." When we struck the boat, she was about done loading, and pretty soon she got off. The king never said nothing about going aboard. I lost my ride after all. When the boat was gone, the king made me paddle up another mile to a lonesome place. Then he got ashore and says, "Now hustle back right off and fetch the Duke up here, and the new carpet bags. And if he's gone over to the other side, go over there and get him. And tell him to get himself up regardless. Shove along now." I see what he was up to, but I never said nothing, of course. When I got back with the Duke, we hid the canoe, And then they sat down on a log, and the king told him everything, just like the young fellow had said it, every last word of it. And all the time he was doing it, he tried to talk like an Englishman, and he had done it pretty well too, for a slouch. I can't imitate him, and so I ain't going to try to. But he really done it pretty good. Then he says, "How are you in the deaf and dumb, Bilgewater?" The Duke said, "Leave him alone for that." Said he had played a deaf and dumb person on the histrionic boards. So then they waited for a steamboat. About the middle of the afternoon, a couple of little boats come along, but they didn't come from high enough up the river. But at last there was a big one, and they hailed her. She sent out her yawl, and we went aboard, and she was from Cincinnati. And when they found we only wanted to go 4 or 5 miles, they was booming mad, and gave us a cussing, and said they wouldn't land us. But the king was calm. He says, calm, excuse me. "If a gentleman can afford to pay $1 a mile apiece, to be took on and put off in a yawl, a steamboat can afford to carry him, can't it?" So they softened down and said it was all right. And when we got to the village, they yawled us ashore. About 24 men flogged down when they see the yawl a-comin'. And when the king says, "Can any of you gentlemen tell me where Mr. Peter Wilkes lives?" They gave a glance at one another and nodded their heads, as much as to say, "What'd I tell you?" Then one of them says, kind of soft and gentle, "I'm sorry, sir, but the best we can do is tell you where he did live yesterday evening." Sudden as winking, the ornery old creature went into smash, and fell up against the man, and put his chin on his shoulder, and cried down his back, and says, "Alas, alas, our poor brother's gone, and we never got to see him. Oh, it's too hard." Then he turns around blubbering and makes a lot of idiotic signs to the Duke on his hands, and blamed if he didn't drop a carpet bag and bust out a-crying. If they weren't the beatenest lot of the 2 frauds that ever I struck. Well, the men gathered round and sympathized with them, and said all sorts of kind things to them, and carried their carpet bags up the hill for them, and let them lean on them and cry, and told the king all about his brother's last moments. And the king, he told it all over again on his hands to the Duke. And both of them took on about that dead tanner like they'd lost the 12 disciples. Well, if I ever struck anything like it, I'm a black. It was enough to make a body ashamed of the human race. Chapter 25. The news was all over town in 2 minutes, and you could see the people tearing down on the run from every which way, some of them putting on their coats as they come. Pretty soon we was in the middle of a crowd, and the noise of the tramping was like a soldier march. The windows and dooryards was full, and every minute somebody would say over a fence, "Is it them?" we'll go ahead and stop there for this week. As usual, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.